Hey y'all, we're gonna make a little lemon pie today. So I'm gonna start off showing you my ingredients here. You can make homemade pie crust, or of course you can use a frozen crust, but I like this one here. You've seen me use this one before in another video when I did a tomato pie. It's just a good pie crust. So I've got that already prepped in my pan here, and all I did was just follow the directions on the box. And don't forget to poke you some holes in there so that it doesn't puff up. Next, I took 4 eggs and separated them. So there's my yolks and my egg whites that I will save for the meringue. The yolks are actually going to go in the pie. So you can use an egg separator for that. If you're real good, you can do it by hand. But I like to use this little handy dandy thing here from Pampered Chef. It just works very good for me. And then I've got a can of sweetened condensed milk. I've got some fresh lemons that I've already squeezed. And for me, these lemons were kind of large, so it took about 3.5 of them to make a 1/2 cup of juice. So that's what I want, some fresh lemon juice. Of course, I already got my seeds out, and y'all, please don't get that stuff in the jar. Go ahead and just buy you some lemons. And then I did a little zest in here, and all I did with that was just my fine cheese grater. And next I have some sugar set aside. I may end up using more than that, I don't know, and some cream of tartar. That's my secret ingredient for whenever I make meringue, y'all. Meringue it's taken me a few shots to get it right, and I finally found out it works best with this. It also works best if the humidity, is just right, and in North Carolina that can be kind of tricky sometimes. And it works best if your eggs are at room temperature. So these eggs were sitting out for a little bit, and I went ahead and separated them. Now they will separate best as cold eggs out of the fridge, but when you go to making your meringue, it's going to be best if they're at room temperature. So I've got all my ingredients here. As you can see, it's really not much. So the meringue will just be the egg whites and the sugar and the cream of tartar. I got a 1/2 cup of juice, a can of the sweetened condensed milk, the yolks, and the crust. So let's get started, y'all. Okay, so here are my 4 egg yolks, and I'm going to start off with that. That is the stove you hear over there. I've got it preheating at 350. So, and I'm going ahead with my sweetened condensed milk. Go ahead and mix that in my egg yolks. And you want to do this first. Don't put the lemon juice in there first. Now y'all, you can do this same pie and use limes and do a key lime pie. But we're doing lemon today. So make sure I get all of that out. I just love this little thing here because it gets it all out for me. Nice and clean. I need to try to talk a little bit loud because the lawnmower's going on outside and y'all might not can hear me very well. Not that it's going by itself. Okay, so I'm gonna whisk this up a little bit. And these are some eggs right out of the backyard of my parents' home. So anytime you can get your hands a hold of some fresh eggs, it's going to make the best desserts. Just put this under here. Nice and thick. And that's just a little bit over a 1/2 cup. It smells so good. This lemon pie is so easy. Probably the hardest thing about it is making the meringue. So easy, but so good. And you could do this with a mixer, but I don't think it's necessary. Now, this lemon zest is just, and that's just shavings from the lemon, of course, that I used from the juice. That's probably about 2 teaspoons, just to give it a little bit of extra bite. And I'm just going to kind of work that in there. If you want to, you could save a little bit to sprinkle on the top of the pie, make it look pretty, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and put everything in here. This is actually for my husband's birthday. He likes lemon pie, lemon cakes, so I'm just going to do this, whip this pie up right quick. All right, my shell. Let's go ahead and pour it in there. That sits. It's going to thicken up a little bit. So, now for the meringue. And you could use your KitchenAid if you have one. And I do have one, but it's just going to be a little quick meringue. I'm just going to, I always use this same bowl. It's just good to have a kind of a deep bowl here. And you make sure that there's no moisture in it. You don't want any leftover water in it. Make sure your bowl's good and dry. And we're just going to start whipping this, y'all, with a real fast speed. Whip, whip, whip. Now sometimes I like to add just a little teaspoon of vanilla to my meringue, but I find that that does cause a little bit of weakness, a little bit wetness to my pie sometimes. So I'm not going to do that today. It does give a good little pop of flavor, but I want it to be a dry meringue. And that cream of tartar not only helps to thicken up your meringue, it also does kind of keep that sweating or that weakness that you get in a pie sometimes. Just a little tip for y'all. Let's see how this is going to taste. Yeah, I think it's going to be sweet enough. Now really, that was a little bit over 1/3 of a cup of sugar. You saw where I went back and added just probably another tablespoon or so. I have messed up a meringue before by adding too much sugar. So you just kind of have to practice with it, really. Let me wipe this off front to spread my meringue. Another thing that will help keep it from sweating so bad is if you make sure you get that meringue all the way to the edges of your pie, all the way to the crust. You don't want to leave any pie showing, and that's regardless if you're making a lemon pie or a chocolate pie. Make sure you work that meringue all the way out to the edges. And you can kind of see the consistency of it here. It's good and thick. I guess kind of like a pudding texture. It does take right much effort to beat it. You saw I had it on high, and I don't know, it took about 5 minutes maybe at the most. Making the pie is easy. It's the meringue that's the tricky part. I hear my cat outside wanting to get in the house, but he ain't getting in while I'm making this pie. Just work that to the edges. So this particular pie is going to have a good high crust to it, which I like. So just like I said, work it to the edges. Make sure that all of your filling's good and covered, not showing up. Now, I like to go back with a spoon and just kind of, I don't know, make some peaks. I probably should have grabbed a tablespoon, but, oh, excuse me, a teaspoon, but this is a tablespoon here. Just kind of make a few peaks to it. And y'all, into the oven she goes, just long enough to brown this meringue. So, not going to take long. Keep an eye on it. Okay, y'all, it's been about 10-12 minutes or so browning at 350. Go ahead and get this pie out. Yum. That's a pretty meringue. So, we're just going to let it sit there and cool for a little while, and then we'll come back and give it a slice.